Last week, I talked about how integral role-playing is to a child's recreation. Does any of that carry into adulthood? Let's talk about that. Somewhere along the line, make-believe becomes uncool. As people enter into their teenage years, they usually leave behind that activity. But what do they turn to? As a whole, TV and movies have been geared towards older audiences. You don't hear many people under their late 20s talking about their favorite TV show, at least not to the degree that you hear it among older generations. Movies realized the formerly untapped teenager market several years ago, but even today very few movies are marketed solely at teenagers. Even the ones clearly designed for teenage audiences feel the need to draw in 20-somethings by connecting it to their own nostalgia. And almost no TV shows are designed for teens. Once kids get over iCarly, it's usually a few years before they move into Lost. Why is this? It's not that movie and TV studios aren't trying to grab that market. But in my experience, teenagers just aren't as interested in being told a story that way. What are they interested in? Yup, video games. From 13 to 28-ish, video games are more popular than ever, and certainly more popular than television. There's a reason you don't see many game trailers on TV. The markets aren't the same. So why is it that teens and 20-somethings love video games so much? Critics would say it's because they're a dumbed-down form of entertainment. It's the shooting and scantily clad girls and explosions they're after. But you can get plenty of shooting, scantily clad girls, and explosions in movies. If it's a Michael Bay movie, they're probably all happening at once. I contend that there's a more profound reason. Anytime a video game with a really great story comes out, people cry out for it to be made into a movie. Back in the 8-bit era, this made a lot of sense. A movie could convey things those graphics never could. But now that games can look just as good as most movies, most gamers will tell you they'd rather not see a movie made out of their favorite game. This is partially due to the absolutely horrendous adaptations made in the past. But a more common argument is, why would I want to see a movie made of that game when I could just play the game? And what most non-gamers don't realize is, many games tell stories better than movies. And that's where we come to the point. Yeah, it took me a while. But we are going to bring this back to tabletop gaming, I promise. The fact is, a video game has just about every tool a movie has to tell a story. Hollywood actors are doing voice work and motion capture for games. Big-name composers are writing the soundtracks. Games are made with bigger graphics budgets than most movies. And on top of all that, video games have a tool no movie can use: interactivity, allowing the player to partake in the story. Sometimes this manifests in full player freedom, to tell a story with no bounds at all. Others play out like a more complex choose-your-own-adventure. Some tell a linear story, but your own involvement in the eyes of the character makes you feel more closely connected to the events of the story. A video game character may have a name, but if you're controlling them, chances are you refer to them as me. I killed the boss. I had to watch my best friend die. No one does that with a movie. When you watch a movie, you are being told a story. When you play a video game, you are participating in telling a story. So why does this appeal to teenagers and young adults? I think it's because these age groups don't really like being told what to do or think. They don't want some Hollywood director telling them, you should care about this character. They want to choose who they care about, what direction the story goes. Now, those critics from before would say, see, video games are just about teenage rebellion. Those rotten kids just won't do what they're told. But wanting to make your own decisions is a vital part of becoming an adult. Modern society created this idea of adolescence, an awkward and painful stage of life where teens feel powerless and controlled, while having an innate desire to spread their wings. The common response to this idea of those rotten kids is that we need to keep them more in line. But before adolescence existed, 13 to 21-year-olds weren't kids who stayed in line. They were adults, just adults in training. Teenagers want to feel like they make a difference, and that's not a bad thing. Why not let teenagers have their own opinion? Let them feel like their opinion and actions matter. Let them realize that they have the power to change the world, and feel the rewards and consequences of doing so. I promised I'd bring this back to tabletop. Hopefully you're following enough to see where I'm going with this, but next week I'll bring it all together in the final video. See you next time.
Roads go ever on, over rock and under tree. caves where never sun has shone.